In this next module, we want to take a look at the database. The database that we are going to be using is MongoDB and NoSQL. So what MongoDB is it is actually a NoSQL database. It is document oriented and has a database model. Extremely flexible type of storage, and it has a JSON-like document so that when we use this data, it works really well with our JavaScript because it's a JSON object, which we're used to. The NoSQL database is non-relational, so it's not table-based. It's not a very structured, rigid type of database. It's very flexible and wide open. It has a schema, but it's a very flexible schema. Because of this, it's very high performance. And one of the really good things about MongoDB is that you can do very quick lookup. It's also very scalable. So one of the things is that you can scale your solution horizontally, whereas traditional databases like Microsoft SQL or Oracle, you would more CPU and computing power to vertically scale, have multiple databases and multiple shards of the data to promote the scalability. So it's extremely powerful and very high performant. Flexible schema, as we said, very much schema-less. I mean, when you're writing to the database and you change a particular field on the fly, it will take that. It will not throw an error. So if you have an isadmin type of flag, you can not only have the presence of the flag or not, or change the data type completely. Mongo will accept that change. And as we said, it's highly scalable. And because of this, in terms of retrieval, we don't need to worry about foreign keys and primary keys and inner joins. There is no joining in Mongo. Basically, everything exists inside of the document. All relationships are inside of that particular record. So this NoSQL database is getting very popular in the modern applications because of how it can deal with unstructured data and scale. And ideally, at the heart of this is the flexible schema, because if you're dealing with big data, Internet of Things, these things is where the data is messy. So this schema allows us to adapt to the messy data without having to deal with changing the structure every time that data changes. So these type of databases are NoSQL, key value stores, column family stores, graph databases, and of course, MongoDB is a document-oriented database that's very, very well structured for related data, and as we said, messy data. So like we said, the advantages of it is very scalable. We can horizontally scale by adding more nodes to the cluster. It's extremely flexible. So as we said, messy data. The data models can accommodate unstructured data as well as the changing of requirements on the fly. It won't break your application if the data changes, which is very different approach from the rigid SQL relational databases. And it's very highly available, so there is automatic fallover and replication so that if there are failures, they can easily handle it. So some use cases, as we mentioned already, highly suitable when data is changing rapidly and we need to have high level of adaptation. Gaming, social media, real-time applications, anything that's in real time. Internet of Things, IoT, these types of data and these types of applications need to be very flexible. Comparing MongoDB versus SQL databases, 90% scalable, there's a lot of flexibility, query performance, transactional integrity, schema enforcement is very low. So one thing you need to remember is that there is no best database. I'm not saying that you need to choose between the two. They both have their merits. If you need to report and do analytics and historical data is very important to you, then SQL Server shines there. That is where you will need a structured database. And in fact, a lot of financial institutions and investment brokerages, they still heavily rely on relational databases. As we said, if we want something scalable and flexible for messy data and data that changes all the time, then NoSQL and MongoDB is the choice.